The house with no corners. He arrived in late October, when grass no longer rustled but broke under boots. The house stood on a rise, friendless and watchful, its roof like two palms pressed together. From the road it looked ordinary, four windows to the north, two to the south, a porch and steps. Only up close did the unease show, lines met with inexplicable patience, as if the walls tolerated right angles without confessing to them. He unpacked his cameras on the kitchen table, wiped each lens, checked the tripod. Inside smelled of dried jam and old plaster. Sun slid in from a window at an angle that could be called neither sharp nor blunt. Light glided along the walls and refused to break. He ran his hand where wall should meet ceiling and felt no edge, only a soft continuity, as if the house were carved from one piece. The first photograph was calm. Table, window, a cup someone had forgotten. But the print insisted otherwise. The table's edge eased into absence, and the cup rested not on wood but on its own reflection, thin as hoarfrost. He made more shots from different heights. Each time the room lost geometry, sidling toward a direction that could not be plotted. At night the house offered its first courtesy. Steps stepped softly though no one moved. The air rotated by a fraction, as if granted a helper axis. Water in a pitcher curled into a bow that was neither circle nor kink, a line with no law but its own. In the morning he measured the walls. The numbers agreed. On paper the plan accepted good sense, every angle square and decent. He pinned the drawing to the door to see what he believed. By noon a sun fleck reached it and snapped the rectangle like a twig. The lines slumped into a soft curve, and where the corners met there bloomed a small oval. He circled the house, shooting inside and out, handheld and long exposure. Photographs did not erase the walls, they erased direction. A corridor set out due west and ended where west existed only as recollection. He moved the furniture. A heavy chest that pressed the wall by morning hung an inch apart at night, not because it had been dragged, but because the wall found that position less convenient. On the third evening he noticed mirrors behaved unlike windows. Window glass remained trusting, slope, scrub, the road, far blue woods. Mirrors refused illustration. In the bathroom, instead of his figure, half a staircase appeared, the one he had just descended. In the hall he saw not coat and laces but a deepened doorway that had never been there. Transparent surfaces misled, reflecting intent rather than thing. He shifted mirrors, threw towels over them. The house did not protest. Reflections simply chose other paths. Near midnight the ceiling boards aligned into an unnoticed whirl, and with steady looking it became clear. The boards did not converge. They agreed to meet without signing a contract. After a sleepless night he tried to write what he felt. Dry notes gathered, light without fracture. Angle refused. The house a fin, not a box. He stood by a wall and pressed his palm to the seam. Skin found no brink. His fingers lay on a single expanse, as if touching a leaned mountain rather than plaster. The house did not resist, it proposed. He took the tripod to the yard and framed the house whole. In the print the building remained convinced of its own formality, yet the porch's shadow did not fall. It coiled into a ribbon and disappeared in grass. Magnified, the ribbon refused to cast a shadow back, as if it had located the place where shade is not required. Indoors, doors behaved like maps. Hinges no longer promised the hall. After the knob, there might be a corridor or a room whose windows stared at different weather. He left chalk marks wherever he turned. Nothing smeared, yet lines changed character. First hatch, then script, then nothing. He added to his notes, "The house builds itself from whoever looks at it." He searched for logic. It existed, only not in geometry but in attention. Fixing on a corner dissolved it into continuation. Thinking of boundary granted 1 more meter of surface where stopping felt impolite. Evenings passed like this. He crossed from wall to wall, trying to catch finitude, and every time missed the address. On the 5th day a new seam appeared in the bedroom. The ceiling lowered politely toward the floor and a cleft opened between them. No cut, but a courteous gap. From it came a cool draft, not outdoor wind. Somewhere inside the house a space needed airing. He slid a ruler into the slit. It traveled farther than expected. Drawn back, it bore unfamiliar marks, as if long used for another scale. Each night the house left proofs. Spoons on the kitchen shelf surrendered their curve and straightened. Knives relaxed into a light arc. Floorboards under the rug forgot their pattern. The grain kept its years but reoriented its travel. A sundial on the sill spun not by sky but by whatever lived in the walls. He craved a corner in at least one thing. From his pack he produced a box of slides, small upright rectangles, strict and clear. He spread them on the table and watched them capitulate. A frame with a rail station lost the lower left corner. There lay an unfinished roundness, a suggestion that the line would rather not be killed. On the 6th day he found a room never drawn on the plan. It was empty, the color of dry dust, with one window. From that window the garden showed, but his apple tree was missing. Far off, a gazebo stood where he had never seen one. Not another reality, the same ground at a moment before someone chose to plant. He photographed it, and the window developed not a view but the next level of the same room, as if in the house's depth lived a copy of the house, trimmed of decisions. He understood the house did not break laws. It renegotiated them at the convenience of the gaze. The house disliked corners because an end bruises the life of a surface. Offer a corner time and it bends, escaping the instrument like water from a hand. He stopped arguing. The tape measure stayed on the sill. He adopted the regime the house required. Observe not result but process. On the 7th day he felt himself becoming structural. In the hall mirror no longer stood his figure but a span of wall where the eye could not catch. The camera on its tripod had turned, not for wind nor slope, but because perspective wanted a new center. He stood in the doorway and watched the black corridor accept his attention as a bearing beam. Toward evening he tried to leave. He packed the gear, closed the bag, pulled on his coat. The door opened easily onto air equal in all directions. Outside had no wind. The road ran left and right as always, yet each way offered the same distance. He stepped out and returned to the foyer without noticing where the turn occurred. The house did not bar him. It had introduced a coordinate he did not know how to use. At night, as the scaffold of sleep arranged itself, the house issued its final offer. Ceiling and floor met at a soft touch beside the bed. From the seam a cool breathing slid, like a spring not yet a stream. He lay listening to warmth compute a shape easier to flow through. He took the cap off a lens, focused on the dark, and pressed the shutter. Once, then again, even intervals, as if a heart remembered its meter. In the morning he developed the film in a makeshift bath. Each frame showed the same house, but the lines trembled like breath. Only one frame differed, a staircase, and on the coat's collar a fold he did not remember. Under the loupe he saw he had not photographed alone.